Hey, how's it going, everybody, and welcome to Bing's Gaming Corner. I hope you've had a fantastic day wherever you are in the world. In this episode, we're going to be discussing Grand Theft Auto 6 and why I think it's going to be a not very good game, or I should say I'm concerned about it. I'm concerned about Grand Theft Auto 6. And I'll get into why I'm concerned about it. It's for a variety of reasons, and I'm a person who's well endowed, well endowed, well endowed with Rockstar games. Okay, I've played every Grand Theft Auto game. I've played both Red Dead Redemption games, so I feel like I'm qualified to speak on this matter. I'm concerned about Grand Theft Auto 6 for a few reasons. We're going to get into that. I'm going to bring on a preeminent authority on this matter, Murdoch Sharnhost, who I would consider to be a historian of Grand Theft Auto games and the franchise as a whole. He has my utmost confidence on the matter, and I I am a huge supporter of what he says in regards to these games and what his general vibe is on Grand Theft Auto 6, and he was concerned. And from him talking to me, it made me kind of second guess my impressions from the trailer that I reacted to a few months ago when it dropped. So we're going to get into my first point as to why I think Grand Theft Auto 6 won't be a very good game. And to consider this, we have to go back and have a look at Rockstar's recent track record. And I would even think that from their staunchest supporter, it hasn't been crash hot. They've made mistakes. They've erred. And the first thing I wanted to talk about is Grand Theft Auto Online, the Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, Grand Theft Auto 5 in its own right was a very good game. I recently played through Grand Theft Auto 5 uh, at the beginning of last year, roughly a decade after it first came out in 2013. There's a reason why I didn't play through it in its entirety when it came out in 2013. And that's because it didn't grab me at the time. It didn't speak to me. Now that was, I think because at the time I was kind of put off by the level of violence in the game. And that's going to sound a bit, it's going to sound a bit soft to people, like, oh, Bing, you're a pro gamer. You play survival horrors. These very graphic, very confronting games, and you were put off by the violence depicted in Grand Theft Auto 5. Yeah, it was when Trevor stomped a guy's head in, and to be fair, that was the most graphic part of the entire game, but it did leave an impression on a poor little 19-year-old boy at the time. The kind of body horror stuff never really gelled with me, but um, I came back to it this year and I really enjoyed it. A solid 7.5 to 8 game for me. I had a lot of fun with it. A lot of fun. It's a very fun game. But I was pissed off by certain parts of it. And one of those things was the prioritization of what we have here, Grand Theft Auto Online, over any form of downloadable content. Have a look back to Grand Theft Auto 4. You had at least, I believe it was 3 major downloadable contents for that game. You had The Ballad of Gay Tony, Lost and the Damned, and Chinatown Wars? Something like that. Uh, it gave you some great bonus content for the campaign. Grand Theft Auto 5, nothing of the sort, did not give you any DLC. Why? Because I put it all into this online only experience. That's great for people who like to play online all the time, but I'm not one of those people. I like the curated, engrossing, immersive single-player experience. This stuff, just not for me. I've already paid $80 for a base game. Why am I going to continue to spend hundreds of dollars for an online experience? To quote the great Macklemore, that's what I call getting swindled and pimped. That's what I call getting tricked by a business. I'm sorry, guys, but yeah, if you paid like hundreds of dollars for this, you've been tricked. And that leads me into my second point. If you are one of those people who've been tricked by Rockstar into spending ungodly amounts on Grand Theft Auto Online, what the hell is your incentive to play Grand Theft Auto 6? You've spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on GTA 5 Online. Why are you going to drop that and then go and repeat the process for GTA 6 when you've already got a sunk cost over here? You're going to keep playing GTA 5 over GTA 6. So when you think of the online experience, yeah, there's a bit of FOMO, fear of missing out. But I think the majority of people are going to continue to play GTA 5 online over GTA 6 because that's where the money is. That's where they've put their investment. They're not going to abandon that. It'd be even crazier. You'd have to be even crazier than I already think you are for spending this much money on GTA 5 online to then repeat that for GTA 6. You'd have to be out of your mind. And it's just not going to happen. People aren't made of money anymore in 2024. I didn't have the money to spend everything they earn on 2 games, let alone 1. So that online experience just isn't going to generate the same kind of revenue for Rockstar as GTA 5 has done. It is just not going to be repeated. It can't be. There isn't the money for it. So that is my first kind of indication or detraction as to why I think GTA 6 isn't going to be quite that crash hot. Well, we'll get into this now. Sure. Okay. Now, I will preface this by saying I'm more of a fan of Red Dead Redemption than I am of Grand Theft Auto. Loved Grand Theft Auto 4. I loved San Andreas. I was absolutely enamored and head over heels in love with Red Dead Redemption. That was the first Rockstar game that I truly fell in love with. It really spoke to me. I just love LARPing as a cowboy. And I waited a year after Red Dead Redemption 2 dropped because I had an outdated console and I wanted to not bastardize my experience by playing it on something outdated. So eventually my brothers and I bought the Scorpio, the updated Xbox One, beefed up processors and graphics cards and RAM and what have you, and I absolutely Loved the experience. Don't regret it. I don't regret the wait. It was worth it. And I loved playing Red Dead Redemption 2, but as I say to a lot of people, 90% of the game was fantastic, and 10% of the game was really, really irritating. Uh, it was like, at the same time, one of the best games I've ever played, and also one of the worst games I've ever played. I'm going to get into that now. Characters, most of them very well written, well acted. They felt like they belonged in the world. Other characters, Sadie Adler, Sadie Adler, were so shoehorned into the game and felt so out of place and so obnoxious and irritating that their presence made me want to stop playing the game a handful of times throughout the experience. It was so grating and so jarring. I really, really, really disliked it and had to delve deep within myself to find the strength to keep going. And it was worth it because the ending for this game was one of the best I've ever experienced. The epilogue saved the final act of the game because it was floundering right up until the epilogue. Really spoke to me. Saved the game. Certain plot elements. Why does a cowboy who's murdered hundreds of people care about, women's rights? What's his motivation for that? Why does he care about slavery? I just think through the mind of a man who's killed hundreds of people in cold blood. All those O'Driscolls he killed probably had wives and children. Didn't think twice about murdering them, but he's going to cast judgment on a person who owned slaves at a time when it was legal. Okay, morally questionable, but it was legal at the time to do so. You know what's never been legal? Murder. That's a sin. It always has been a crime. Oh, as long as we've had laws anyway. So I thought it was very rich that the writers made Arthur Morgan such an ethically inconsistent person. It didn't make any sense. It was like he was being written by 10 different people with different ideologies and different ethics and different moral compasses. And that strayed from what I would expect a cowboy in the late 1800s to feel. And, obviously there are different moral choices you can make as Arthur. You can be a more moral and ethical character if you wish, but fact of the matter is you don't have a choice in killing the O'Driscolls and the other gang, the Lemoyne Raiders in the campaign. That's something you're always going to have to do. You're always going to have to murder people. And is that right? You can try to justify it by the O'Driscolls. I don't know, they had beef against Dutch, and the Lemoyne Raiders are epic, racist, Ku Klux Klan, dumb inbred Southerner hicks that we've seen a million times in media. It's such a tired trope. It's lame. It's boring. It sucks. Come up with something original. Yeah. But my main gripe with Red Dead Redemption 2 was the ineptitude and laziness, outright blatant laziness of Rockstar to not develop any single player downloadable content for the game. And, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I point your direction to Exhibit A, Undead Nightmare for Red Dead Redemption. quite possibly the greatest downloadable content that we have received for any game in the history of gaming. Completely altered the experience of a serious narrative-based Wild West turn of the century, 20th century game to a horror movie. Zombies, cryptids, ghosts, supernatural entities, whatever, you name it. It was so unique and so innovative. So many people just bought Undead Nightmare without giving a shit about Red Dead Redemption. Just to have that experience. That was my brother. Well, one of my brothers. Not the one you're going to be hearing tonight. And it was amazing. The lazy SOBs haven't ported it to PC so I can play it on my computer. They haven't given us a remaster of it. That's a different... I'm getting sidetracked, but... why not give us an Undead Nightmare 2 for Red Dead Redemption 2? Is there any good reason? Didn't you generate... I know they're different studios, but... didn't you generate enough money from the sales of the base game to justify giving us a little bit of DLC to the loyal fans who paid top dollar for your game? Who spent big money on overpriced cosmetics and fucking guns in Red Dead Redemption 2 Online that was promptly abandoned and not supported? Why didn't you give us a Undead Nightmare 2? And I will never, ever forgive Rockstar for that. That was such a disappointment, an unbelievable disappointment. I'll never get over it. And it has... it's kind of tainted them in my eyes, because there is no good reason, no excuse they could give me as to why they did not deliver an Undead Nightmare 2. Unforgivable. It's a sin. It's outrageous. I'm getting mad thinking about it. It would have been so cool. And I touched on the point of ineptitude and laziness, and I think that rounds out nicely to my third critique of why I think Grand Theft Auto 6 is in trouble, given their recent track record of Rockstar. So Grand Theft Auto Definitive Edition. What a train wreck this ended up being. You can still, oh my god, you can still buy it now for $90 for free games that are well over a decade old, that launched with bugs. They just slapped a coat of paint onto these games. They didn't add any new content. God forbid if they do anything extra, they go above and beyond. This was one of the laziest, most salacious, egregious, and unforgivable cash grabs I've ever seen as a pro veteran gamer in this community. Launch with so many errors, so many bugs, and they didn't even really do that much to update it for a modern audience. They gave it a frame rate boost and improved graphics. No new weapons, no new campaigns, no new locations, no new missions. Same shit. With a little bit of lipstick on. very lazy, just uninspired, bored, tired, blasé. And it just repeats the recent cycle of Rockstar being money grubbing, lazy, corporate, unimaginative, uninspired, unenthusiastic, soulless, grubs. I'm not confident that this mob will deliver an experience that is worth my money. And they're still trying to flog this off for $90 fucking dollars. Unforgivable. This should be $10, $15. Are you fucking serious? $90. What a fucking joke. Holy shit. And it's a shame, like... Really? $90? It's Vice City, everyone. God damn. What a waste of potential. Alright guys, so gonna pause here, gonna bring the historian on board, and we're going to have a deep dive into why we think Grand Theft Auto 6 is in a lot of trouble. Be right back soon. Hey everyone, I'm joined here at the moment by Murdoch Sharnhost, the preeminent authority on Grand Theft Auto, I would say, in the world. He is professional, an absolute champion, and undisputed source of knowledge on all things Grand Theft Auto. So, everyone, please welcome Murdoch Sharnhost to the episode, and I'll let him introduce himself and speak a little bit about his credentials as a Grand Theft Auto historian. Over to you, Murdoch.
Alright everyone, as Bing mentioned, my name is Murdoch Sharnhost, and I've been playing Grand Theft Auto games ever since, basically since we were about, ever since I was probably about 12 years old, I'd say, with the first game, Grand Theft Auto game we had being Grand Theft Auto 3. And to be honest, that was one of my, despite a lot of people objecting to it being a bit of a dud, I actually quite enjoyed it very much. And yeah, then we got GTA Vice City. I loved that one as well. And yeah, I've played all the main titles since then, really. And yeah, I've been basically just been reminiscing about all the stories of all these Grand Theft Auto games, essentially. And yeah, just all the fun times I've had. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a series that's very close to your heart. Is that right, Murdoch?
Yeah, basically, yes.
And what's your favorite Grand Theft Auto game?
Oh, I'd probably have to say Grand Theft Auto 4 by a very close contest between Grand Theft Auto 4 and probably Vice City, I'd say.
Why does Grand Theft Auto 4 get over the line for favorite game for you versus Vice City?
Well, probably I'd have to say because the storyline was good. How you play as an Eastern European immigrant who is basically trying to escape his very shady past as a former soldier in the Bosnian War, and basically tried to help his comedic cousin out to claim that he was a millionaire in Liberty City, but turned out had a failing taxi business and was in debt to loan sharks. And yeah, the campaign was just really fun, and like I had a lot of fun moments with it. And so ambitious or quite funny as well. And I just found Liberty City a bit of a cozy setting as well. Like it wasn't too big, but it also wasn't too small sort of thing. I just found it relaxing just driving around the city essentially during just listening to the tunes. And last thing I'd like to add as well, I also liked how you had to unlock the map as well as the story progresses on. It felt rewarding after finally unlocking the entire map.
Yeah, like a bit of delayed gratification.
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed that about Grand Theft Auto 4 as well, and it definitely... It kind of launched the Grand Theft Auto series to the next level for me, because it felt like it was a new generation game. I guess because you and me had played previous games, but we hadn't played them as a fresh experience, so it was still old games for us, right? So Grand Theft Auto 4 was probably the first modern GTA we played that we actually came out while we were actively playing games.
Yeah, I believe it came out when we were in grade 8, I believe.
Yeah, so it was like a fresh experience at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very good. But yes, the reason why we're here today is to discuss Grand Theft Auto 6, and I believe you've seen the trailer, Murdoch. You're familiar with what GTA 6 is looking like?
Yeah, so I'm familiar with what I've seen in the 1 minute 30-second trailer.
Didn't give us very much to work on, probably
well, I can figure out like some aspects of the game thus far.
Yes, well, exactly, there wasn't much to go on, so there's a lot of speculation, but what we do have wasn't much gameplay. It was more of a rendered cutscene, but...
Well, to be frank, Grand Theft Auto 5 had the same launch trailer as well, in a way.
Yes, you're right, from memory it did have. It was more of a cutscene rather than any interactive gameplay.
That's correct.
Yes. Well, actually, we'll just briefly touch on this for the moment. I'm going to ask you, what were your impressions from the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer versus, say, the first trailer that was released from GTA 5?
Oh, I definitely like the first trailer from Grand Theft Auto 5. It had kind of a more calmer element to it, as basically, like, from memory, it was Michael talking to the camera, just talking about retirement sort of thing, and it kind of showcased a more lax lifestyle at the start of the trailer from memory.
Yeah.
However, the GTA 6 trailer, it immediately sets you off, like, showing one of the two protagonists. I don't know her name yet, obviously, so let's just call her Bonnie.
Yep.
Basically, like, in prison, talking to who could be a parole officer or something, or some kind of corrections officer.
That was the impression I got.
Yeah, like, already, like, it's kind of taken a bit of a darker tone sort of thing, because although GTA has always been a dark sort of game, but right off the back we get a dark setting there, like you're starting off in prison by it seems, but then it tries to basically try and throw elements of fun and excitement into it by showcasing Vice City and its nightlife or its glory.
Yeah.
But I felt it was but at the start, like, yeah, it just didn't seem like it was the kind of laxed sort of trailer that GTA 5 had.
So by lax, do you mean that, like, Grand Theft Auto 5 maybe had a smaller scope in the trailer, or was a more refined scope in what it presented?
I think it was more refined sort of thing, like it was just I think it was more so showcasing the setting it was in.
Like a bit more slice of life maybe compared to GTA 6, which was very
Well,
excessive.
yeah,
You know, it
yeah,
was very in your face with all this the imagery it was showing of the nightlife, as you were saying, the partying, people
yeah,
riding on top of cars and people fighting in the mud down on the
yeah,
river and this kind of
exactly.
thing.
Well, GTA 5's trailer, it talked about Michael like being in retirement sort of thing. It showed glimpses of the Los Santos beach with people just chilling and walking on the beach or the beach walk sort of thing on the road. I think it also showcased a bit of Michael's family as well.
Yeah, so it was a bit more of a family connection, a bit more. You knew a bit more of the intimacy of the character, but I feel like we don't know very much about the characters from Grand Theft Auto 6, which we're going to touch on as our next point of discussion, but I just feel as though it's good to touch back on the trailer to get your impressions of it. For me, when I saw the trailer, it was very graphically impressive, but in hindsight, now that I think about it, I kind of feel like I was more so watching something like a TikTok or an Instagram highlights reel versus actually having a game experience. If that makes sense, it doesn't feel like it was a game. It was trying to be too much like real life, which in a way takes me out of it because, well, why wouldn't I just go on my phone and look at TikTok or Instagram? Why would I play a game? I want to play a game to escape from reality, not immerse myself back in reality, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
Did you feel that it was a bit too realistic, or maybe it wasn't, like it was more of a cutscene or a movie versus an actual gaming
I think it was
trailer?
trying to present more. It's sort of like a movie trailer sort of thing than an actual cutscene trailer sort of thing. And I just remember now. Actually, I literally just remembered the Grand Theft Auto 4 trailer. Actually, it was showing the skyline of Algonquin, which is the Manhattan Island in Liberty City, and then it shows Nico talking about a brief history of what he's trying to run away from. But it showed the cargo ship that he had smuggled aboard on.
Yeah.
And then it showed him walking off on a bridge saying perhaps here things will be different, indicating that he's trying to turn his life around. It's like you can already get a glimpse of what he's trying to achieve in a new life.
Oh, it's good character insight, and I think that's a good segue into our first official point of discussion, which is the characters for Grand Theft Auto 6, albeit we don't really know much about them, but we have the two protagonists. We have the...
Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, essentially a Bonnie and a Clyde situation. We have the girl, and we have the man, who appear to be in a kind of relationship where they're committing crimes to get by, like what you said, akin to a Bonnie and a Clyde. We know that the female is a criminal. And from the trailer, I got the impression that they were leaning towards the angle that she was like wrongly accused or wrongly convicted of a crime, which is... I don't want to really draw attention to and get bogged into this, but it's kind of a tired trope in the current day where you have a person of color who's wrongfully convicted, and that's their focal narrative point. It's
That they were just wrongly accused and then they want to try and make things right sort of thing.
It's like, yeah, the system screwed them over, and of course this happens, and it's a very real issue in the criminal justice system, but it's a trope, and it is a trope now that's been kind of done to death. It's just not original anymore. It's like we're at the point where it's cliche almost, because it's almost like you can have a character like that in the game, but give them a unique backstory. It's like this plotline is cliche.
It's tried and used.
Yeah, it's tried and used. But that's the impression I got from when she was in prison and talking to a parole officer. That I'm guessing, and I could be wrong, and we'll find out when the game comes out. But from the way she was speaking to her officer, it seemed like she felt as though she was hard done by being in prison. And we really don't know anything about the male character. He's a bit of a mystery to us.
No, exactly. We don't know anything about Clyde, so I don't really know where to go on him.
It seems as though they're in a somewhat of a romantic relationship. I recall toward the end them saying like we're kind of in this together, you know.
Yeah, she said that we're in this together.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Exactly, yeah, that's right. So, yeah, they didn't show much of the protagonist, so we don't have a great deal to go off. Don't know his motivations for doing this aside from he might be in love with the female character, or is at the very least, you know, romantically involved with her and wants to be with her and support her in that way. But in my opinion, that's not a very strong connection between our protagonists when you look back at, for example, Grand Theft Auto 5. And I know that it's not your favorite Grand Theft Auto game, but would you agree with me in saying that one of the strong points of Grand Theft Auto 5 was the chemistry between the three protagonists? That was one of the main highlights of the game, how they all worked together and they fed off each other with the voice acting and the writing and the plot elements. It all really melded together to make a very strong narrative element.
Yeah, I guess yes, in a way, yeah.
In your opinion, which Grand Theft Auto game had the strongest characters?
You mean by protagonists?
Yes, the protagonists.
That's a bit of a tough one because Grand Theft Auto 4, of course, you had Nico, who had the very interesting backstory. You have Tommy Versity, who's the crime boss of the Versity crime family, who basically took down his opposing crime don, who Sonny Forelli, who was played by the late Tom Sizemore, I will bring up. As a fun fact.
Yeah.
But then also in GTA 3, you had Claude, the strong silent type.
Yes.
Or as what CJ will call it, the mute F word. I don't know if it's permitted on each other, but I just won't risk it. So I don't know, but I'd probably have to say it'd be a bit of a tie between probably Nico and Tommy, I'd say.
I from what I remember, Grand Theft Auto 4 had some impeccably well written and acted characters, and it was a very, I think it was the most authentic Grand Theft Auto game in...
Oh wait, I thought we were just talking about protagonists.
Yeah, yes, we are, but
Because yes, character-wise as well, Grand Theft Auto 4 did have a lot of timely classics.
Yeah, I just think that the characters felt very... They felt very authentic and relatable. I think Grand Theft Auto 5 was a little bit more zany, like... It was probably a bit more on the humorous, kind of offbeat, zany, wacky kind of side, but Grand Theft Auto 4's characters were a bit more grounded. And,
yeah, they were grounded more down to earth.
It felt like more relatable in a way, like these guys are immigrants from a foreign country and they're, starting at rock bottom and they're having to kind of scrap for every dollar. which is a very relatable.
Exactly, and most of them wind up just going back into the world of crime.
Yeah, and like what you were referring to before with one of the Grand Theft Auto 4 trailers with Nico saying that they were home, that just provided a little bit more insight to a character than I think what we've gotten so far with these characters in Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah.
They just don't strike me as being overly interesting. Like, what do you think? Are you intrigued by the characters in Grand Theft Auto 6?
Thus far, not at all.
Yeah, like, there's no pull, there's no magneticism, you know what I mean? Like, in Grand Theft Auto 5, you had... Trevor was magnetic, Michael was magnetic, Franklin was magnetic, they had charisma, every one of them was capable of leading a story on their own. They were very well written, acted, and thought out characters, but these guys haven't grabbed me. What have they grabbed you? What are your impressions?
Thus far, I am not impressed, and no, they have not grabbed my full attention.
Yeah, like, do you feel a chemistry between the characters?
Oh, heck
no. No, I don't either. And that's, yeah, one of the big reasons why I'm concerned about Grand Theft Auto 6. I don't know how the interactions between these protagonists is going to go. It feels kind of flat to me.
Yeah.
Where's the humour? Oh, sorry, we'll get to that. It's another point of discussion, but yeah, the chemistry feels a bit off. Like,
It's all a bit one-sided thus far.
yeah, and to be fair, we've only seen the female character's perspective. There could be more to come, which reveals the male character, but yeah, so far flat is the best I can say. I feel about it.
Agreed.
Alright, well, we'll move on to our next point of discussion. We're going to have a chat about the setting. And I'll ask you this, Murdoch. Do you think that Grand Theft Auto needed to go back to Vice City as a setting, or would it have been better to explore a new location in the franchise? What are your thoughts?
Well, now, to establish before there's a civil war in the comment section or during this call-up.
It'll be a point of contention for sure.
Yeah. Now, because they've already gone back to Liberty City, and technically they did go back somewhat to San Andreas with Los Santos, I can see the argument that they need to go back to Vice City. However, they also could have gone to somewhere new, like a revamped Las Venturas, Las Vegas, or San Fierro. San Francisco would have been actually pretty good, or somewhere completely new would have been quite good, like Chicago.
Yeah, I often kind of, I've been often thinking about whether it would have been better to take a bit of a risk and explore a new location. But I can understand on the other side of the coin that, there hasn't been a game set in Vice City, like...
No, since Vice City Stories.
Correct, but yes, that was essentially the same map. It wasn't really a new imagining.
No, it wasn't a revamp.
Vice City, so it's really been since the early 2000s. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true, I think.
So, it's going to be... GTA 6 was scheduled to come out next year, so it's going to be 23 years? Something like that.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so I can understand a bit of fan service going back to Vice City, and it's a lot of people's favourite Grand Theft Auto game, Vice City. It was one of, I had a very fun time playing that, and obviously I love Florida because it's very similar to where we live in this part of the world here. Tropical beaches and very hot and humid with a lot of crocodiles and whatnot, but yeah, I think that if Rockstar really wanted to make a statement, they would have gone with a new location. Let's try out another city in America, maybe, like you mentioned, Chicago, or
Dallas.
somewhere in Texas, Dallas, or maybe even if they went in a completely sideways direction and they had it as a more slice of life game, maybe set in the Midwest, like where they went with North Yankton in Grand Theft Auto 5, but it was more of a small town kind of setting. That would have been interesting.
I can see where you're going with that, but I don't think small towns really work for Grand Theft Auto games or with the sheer amount of chaos that you do.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's very, yeah, it is very chaotic at times, and that kind of lends itself to being in a larger city with military bases and airfields.
National Guard depots, essentially, now they've got.
Yeah, this kind of thing, so that's a fair point. Are you happy with Grand Theft Auto 6 being set in Vice City?
Well, I kind of had a feeling it was going to be Vice City ever since the release of GTA 5, so yeah, I think I'd probably be satisfied with it, to be perfectly honest.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I don't have... In terms of everything I could say about this game, that's something I can point to and say I'm okay with. I like Florida. I think it's got very unique biomes. You've got the big cities, you've got the beach life, and you've also got the more rural areas, which is kind of what I've been talking about, where you have the swamps, the small towns, and that kind of thing. So there's a bit of a balance there, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So setting, I think it'll be interesting because I will say that my favorite areas of Red Dead Redemption 2 were the swamps of Lemoyne.
Is that where you tried to feed that guy to the alligator?
Yes, that's where I tried to feed the guy to the alligator in
After you broke his neck, where you threw him in the kayak?
That's right. Yeah, so and obviously the whole game is going to be set in that environment, which is actually one of the things I was most I was kind of like excited for with the reveal. The location, I think, no issues with that. We're pretty happy about Vice City, or Florida coming back in the game. But yes, we'll move on to discussing probably a larger bone of contention here with our plot elements. So we've kind of touched on this with they're going for a bit of a Bonnie and Clyde situation, seemingly with two star-crossed lovers stealing, robbing, trying to get by. Is this going to be as strong of a narrative as previous Grand Theft Auto games? Like, it doesn't seem as ambitious to me. Murdoch, what are your thoughts?
To be perfectly honest, and now this is going to be a huge point of controversy, but to be perfectly honest, now we're going back to GTA 5 here, but I was not really the biggest fan of multiple protagonists, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, why's that?
I don't know, it just didn't really work for me, really.
Was it, oh, sorry.
This is just basically from playing multiple GTA games where you just plays a single protagonist, just jumping the free at the time. It just didn't really sell me.
Okay. Do you feel like it detracted from certain characters? They could have been fleshed out more if there was more attention given to maybe one character, or...
I do think so, yeah. I think that, like, some of the characters kind of lacked a bit of traits and developments, really, i.e. I think Trevor kind of did. Like, all we just saw him was the stereotypical redneck jamboree type.
It's fair, yeah, like and I think Trevor's a very controversial character for that reason. He's very one-paced, he's quite... very violent and aggressive, and I think they tried to soften him a bit with him kind of being smitten with the wife of the Mexican cartel mob boss, and that showed a bit of a softer side to him, which I did appreciate, but I think it didn't balance him enough as a character. He didn't have depth, and I think you're right, like, Michael and Franklin had more depth, but Trevor was
he was just one-paced. One-paced, see.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's where I kind of feel this will be kind of the same. In fact, to be perfectly honest, I think in this one, although they've put two protagonists, and this is going to be a bit controversial as well, but it seems to be I think they're going to be focusing all their developments and energy onto Bonnie's development throughout the campaign.
Okay, why do you think that?
It just makes it seem that, like, and now this is only early days still, but it seemed to be like during the trailer, like she had all the spotlights essentially, like, and had all the lines of dialogue, about 90% of the lines of dialogue.
That is true, and I will say that yes, we haven't seen any more of that, but it is, I think that's a good point. It is telling that they chose to sort of show her perspective first, almost like she's prioritized as a character. And I have heard a theory elsewhere that the male protagonist will be killed off early in the game.
Then what's the point of even having two protagonists then?
Well, perhaps he isn't a protagonist at all, and it's just it's going to be like a plot twist early on to try to subvert the player.
I see, yeah.
It's a theory I've heard, but
we can definitely establish that all the development and energy is going to be going into her development. That's for damn sure.
I think that's correct, given the current climate and certain comments that Rockstar has made concerning the direction the game is going, and the future is female, as they say, Murdoch.
Sorry, what was that?
The future is female.
Oh, is that what Rockstar said?
No, but I've heard that elsewhere as well. But yes, I think that quite possibly, yes, our female in this game is going to be the shining light, and she is the first protagonist. Female protagonist to be in a Rockstar game, right?
Yes, she is the first, yeah.
So I can't see anything happening to her at this point.
No, they're definitely not going to kill her off, that's for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, when I think of like Grand Theft Auto 5, at least, it seemed ambitious. You have, even though you didn't think the concept landed, I think it was ambitious to have 3 different characters with different backstories and different motivations, and all you can switch between them and play different lives, and then they all kind of come back together at certain points. That was an ambitious and innovative gameplay decision, and not only that, but Grand Theft Auto 5 innovated in other ways in terms of incorporating a first-person perspective. That didn't happen until after the game launched, but
first-person perspective. I don't have an opinion on that. I'm indifferent.
a bit indifferent on it.
Yeah.
Yes, but my point is that whether you think it didn't really work or didn't, it was something different, right?
It was revolutionary for Grand Theft Auto at the time, because no other GTA had gone to first person.
Yeah, exactly.
The closest we ever get to first person in previous GTA games is in GTA 3 and Vice City, where you aim your assault rifle, and it's basically you just see the white aim up.
Yeah, but white reticle of doom. I remember that.
Yeah, but that was the closest we had to first person at the time, and even so, you could just stand still.
But yeah, it's just nothing in this trailer really screamed innovation at me.
Yeah.
Nothing seemed overly creative, and I guess you could say it's innovative that they have a female protagonist for the first time. But I didn't feel that. I don't know. Is that a bad thing? But I didn't feel that was an innovative thing.
No, I didn't think it was innovative as well.
I don't know. Yeah, just maybe it just feels par for the course now.
I think it's about the whole culture that's like been inducted into pop culture these days.
Yeah, I think that might be it. Like,
that's why I'm not overly excited or anything. Like, it's a female protagonist. It's seen it now every day in movies and TV shows these days. I mean, look at the train wreck of the new True Detective season.
Yes, well, apparently that's it's very polarizing, but yeah, I just kind of think like maybe it was a decision made for the sake of it rather than it actually adding anything to the gameplay.
No, I think it was
or the plot.
I think it was all just the whole push of modernizing pop culture these days.
Bit of inclusivity and diversity. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way.
Like if they did this back in like say 2008 when GTA 4 came out, then I would say yes, it's a new innovation, because there was no culture wars or the whole modernization of pop culture back then.
That's a really good point, because that truly would have been ahead of the curve. That would have been actually making a female character, like, for example, if Nico was a playable character as well as maybe a female, that would have been truly innovative, because it was ahead of the time and it would have been fresh and exciting.
But now that like it's in the modern pop culture era and it's happening left, right, and center, I don't feel that's innovative.
I think you're right. Yeah, it feels like they're almost a bit behind the eight ball here. But back in 2008, it would have been a very powerful statement, and if they did it right, it would have been very effective. But it just kind of feels like it's a bit tired now.
Exactly. It's tired. It's played out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right.
Like, a female protagonist. I haven't seen that before. Like the latest 20-odd movies have spit out.
Yeah, it's like there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but it just, when it feels like it's done for the sake of, trying to be
woke.
Yeah, essentially. It feels a bit sad and a bit tired, and it's like we've seen it all before.
I'm just gonna sum it up. It's lazy.
It's lazy. It is. It's bad writing, and I touched on that before with Rockstar's track record of laziness lately with Red Dead Redemption 2 DLC, Grand Theft Auto 5 DLC, and
which is all just online.
yeah, all online, and the definitive edition for.
Oh, don't get me started with the definitive edition. Although, to be frank, though, I still play it, so yeah.
Well, yes, but you're a fan, and but you can acknowledge that it had its shortcomings, and certainly wasn't worth the price tag that they were charging at the time for it.
Let's just say this: the last glitch I encountered in that game, I literally survived the car explosion.
You survived the car explosion?
Yeah, while still inside the car.
Oh, I guess you could say you're a man of steel.
Yeah, somehow I survived it. However, the game crashed, so I had to reboot it.
Fantastic, Rockstar. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing fantastic work, and if you can't detect this tone of sarcasm in my voice, you're even stupider than I thought you were. Alright. So with that being said, we're going to move on. Sorry, Murdoch?
I just said controversy aside.
Yes, controversy aside, yeah. The plot for the game, we really don't have anything to go on at this point. Who knows? It doesn't seem as innovative as yeah, just good to me, for lack of a better word. It hasn't grabbed me. Grand Theft Auto 4, innovative in the sense that you play as a newcomer to America. You're playing as
Eastern European immigrant, Serbian.
Am I correct in saying that that's the first time you played as a non-American in a Grand Theft Auto game?
That's correct, because all the others were American.
Yeah, so
or Italian American.
You're a foreign citizen moving to America, and you're experiencing it for the first time, and you want to live the American dream, but you find that life isn't that easy or that simple. You have to kind of revert to your old ways of violence to make ends meet, even though you're doing it begrudgingly. Nico didn't want to have to do any of that. He was a good guy at heart, but he was kind of forced into doing shit.
Mainly because of his cousin.
Yeah, for his family.
Which is one of the elements I loved about the game. Like, as I mentioned earlier, like, Roman said that he had riches and luxury, but instead he lived in a cruddy apartment and his taxi business was failing, yet he was in debt to loan sharks.
Yes, it was all a big ruse, and that was interesting. It was innovative, and it was interesting. It's just not grabbing me, Murdoch. It's not grabbing me. GTA 6, not grabbing me, man.
Yeah, and I've watched the trailer like 5 times now, and it still hasn't grabbed me.
Yeah, it's not doing it, but we'll move on to our next point, which is now in recent times, Rockstar Games have made a focus on realism versus maybe more fun elements. For example, I'll point to Red Dead Redemption 2, which had a huge focus on making the game as realistic as possible. You know, if you ride out on your horse in the rain, your clothes get wet, you'll get more cold. Even your horse's testicles will shrink in the cold. This is the level of realism they went to. But I'm just wondering whether having a focus on realism detracts from a game being fun. I think a game should be, or should have a focus and a priority on being fun first and foremost over elements of realism.
I can agree with that.
So we have a look back at some of the older Grand Theft Auto games, and I think that was certainly the case. They had... It wasn't overly realistic, it was definitely... It was a video game. It felt like you were playing a game first and foremost.
Some elements were real, but like in GTA GTA 4, like if your car wound up getting dented so much times, the engine will just outright fail and you couldn't drive it.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
But and sometimes you'd also go flying through the windscreen as well.
Yeah, if you didn't buckle your seatbelt.
Yeah, you go, if you crash at high speed, you literally go flying out the window.
So I think, yeah, GTA 4 made a bit of a switch to being more realistic, but it kind of suited the tone of the game, which was a bit more somber, and it was a bit more serious, and then GTA 5 kind of relaxed a bit and went back a bit more to the zany side, but I'm just going off Red Dead Redemption 2 as my most recent experience, which, in terms of being very realistic, kind of took agency and autonomy away from the player in terms of being able to make your own decisions in the plot and in gameplay. And it was very restrictive, and I didn't like it. And I fear that this Grand Theft Auto game is going to go that way, and they're going to be like, oh no, we as the developers know the best for you, and we're going to prevent you from doing this at this point in the game, and you're going to have to play it this way. That's just kind of the feeling I get.
Yeah, I can't really form an opinion on that one, really, because to be perfectly honest, there wasn't really much realism towards Grand Theft Auto 4, and Grand Theft Auto 5, I can't remember if there really was any realism, to be perfectly honest. I mean, there was some of the random encounters that happened on the highways and streets and everything, which I found a bit annoying.
Yeah, I think in Grand Theft Auto 5, there's a bit of realism in, like, I think the driving felt quite sharp, but it felt more wacky and zany to me than GTA 4 did. And maybe that was because of, like, characters like Trevor, and because it was a bit more bright and colourful. Yeah, but it still kind of, it felt like a video game. It would suspend my belief in reality, and it would take me to a place that was completely fanciful. Like, what if I could rob banks and, all these places and earn millions of dollars and, rig the stock market and that kind of thing, and it was very fun.
Yeah.
What if I wanted to, dive in a submarine to the bottom of a lake and search shipwrecks and that kind of thing, but I'm concerned that with GTA 6 it'll kind of force you to play the game in a certain way, which I don't like. I don't like it when a game takes away your ability to sort of play it the way you want.
So expand a bit more on that, like, you mean like decisions you make in-game, or?
Yeah, like in Red Dead Redemption 2, there were just certain points in the game where it would just sort of take the control away from you, and you'd have to... It was like there was a right decision and a wrong decision, and you'd have to do the right decision, or what the game considered to be the right decision, or you couldn't progress.
Oh, right, yeah, I think I remember you doing that. Yes, I remember now.
Yeah, so I kind of feel like this game will go the same route, which would be very frustrating, in my opinion.
Yeah, judging by what your experience of Red Dead Redemption 2, I kind of feel that will probably happen as well, since how that game only just got released, like, what was it, like 5 years ago?
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah, so it'll be still fresh in Rockstar's memory.
I think it's going to go that way, and I think it's going to take a lot of control away from the player, and it's going to be less of a sandbox game, and it's going to be more of a on-rails cinematic, interactive
Cinematic.
movie cutscene simulator kind of thing.
Actually, I don't even think it will be interactive, really, but they're going to be taking all the control away.
Yeah, well, it won't be interactive at that point, will it?
No.
No.
You might as well be playing the Call of Duty game.
Might as well be watching a movie.
Yeah, you might as well. Yes. You're watching a movie.
I think that's what we're going to get to.
Yeah, it will be, basically this $110 game, but yeah, you won't be doing any gameplay. Just sit back and relax and watch this massive $110 movie.
Yeah, exactly, Murdoch. I think it'll go that way.
Yeah, whatever. We're Rockstar. We'll take your money. If you.
Screw you. We won't give you any DLC. We'll take all your money and we'll continue to pay full retail price for a game that's 10 years old and not give you any DLC, and we'll also charge you up the nose for online only content that we have in the base game, but we'll resell it to you for like $10-$20 on online only.
Oh, whatever. You'll pay it. Whatever. If you.
Yeah, fuck you. You'll buy it. Okay, Murdoch, so the final point we're going to discuss tonight is the topic of humour. Now, that's always been a very strong focal point of Grand Theft Auto games. Think of every Grand Theft Auto game, there's been a strong focus on humour. And I think particularly to the way the protagonists of Grand Theft Auto 5 interacted with each other, it was very humorous, so it was great chemistry. Do you think there is going to be that same level of humour and chemistry between the protagonists of GTA 6 compared to the previous installments?
I don't think so.
And why do you think that?
I don't know, like, it just kind of seems like the protagonist female just seems to be stern, no nonsense, no bullcrap kind of person. She doesn't seem to... and now, obviously, it's still early days and we've only seen her in the one trailer, but it doesn't really seem like she is the type of character to have, like, a funny bone in her.
Yeah, she seems very, like you said, very stern, very serious, and not the jokey type. And I can compare that to Grand Theft Auto 5 with the launch trailers, and Michael was a bit of a grump, but he certainly had a sense of humour. And it contrasted really well with the other characters like Franklin and Trevor, who would, contrast with his sort of grumpier sensibilities, and they just created a great contrast and some great comedic moments between each other. And I don't think they'll be able to replicate that in this game with the current characters.
But also, in GTA 4 as well, like, all the characters had their funny moments as well.
Yeah, like Nico and Roman had some funny moments, didn't they?
Screw you, you idiot! Okay, I'm an idiot, so what? That was actually like in the very first cutscene of the game.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, I don't feel it. I don't feel the chemistry and the humour between these two.
Nah.
I mean, it's nothing that indicated to me in the first trailer for GTA 6 that it would be an overly funny game either. Yeah, I'm just not feeling it. I don't feel the humour. And in this current climate, I don't see how they can maintain the same sense of humour and irreverence. If you know what I mean. Like, Grand Theft Auto has always been very famous for kind of blurring the line between politics, so make fun of both sides of a political divide, conservatives.
This one's going to be very political.
Yeah, conservatives, liberals, whatever, but do you think they'll be able to maintain that impartiality in GTA 6?
Nah.
What do you think of that?
No, just in the direction that's going in. I kind of feel that, like, as we mentioned before, like how firstly, and now we're going back to making a female protagonist. Like, I don't feel that that's innovative.
Yeah.
For one, I feel that like it was not a forced decision, but just a current climate sort of decision.
It's kind of uninspired, yeah.
In the pop culture war sort of thing. Like, that's already a bit of a political aspect that's been going on already.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I just kind of feel that, like, it, and because also you're kind of in like a bit of a well, you're in the swamps of Florida essentially, but it's a bit of a heavy political state as well, the southern states.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't, I don't think it's going to be humorous. I think it's mostly going to be about politics.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be very focused on a certain side of the political spectrum, and the developers have said as much, where they're not going to be incorporating what they referred to as punching down humor anymore, and will instead be punching up. And well, you can make of that what you will. But yeah, I don't see how they can maintain that same sense of very relatable and beloved humor that has been such a staple of this franchise for the past 20 plus years.
Exactly.
It just can't happen, and that's what people love about Grand Theft Auto, and I don't see it happening anymore. I think it's dare I say, too woke now.
Yeah, it's been corrupted in the like climates of the pop culture wars.
I don't. If this game genuinely makes me laugh, I'll give it credit, and I will. That's to say if I play it, but yeah, I don't know if it would.
No, and no, I just don't see it being a funny sort of game. Like, right off the back, already, like, where it's already seemed like a no nonsense sort of bullshit.
Yeah, like the female character, and I think this is kind of what we've been touching on. She feels like a very forced character. Like, she's an inverted commas strong woman, and there's nothing wrong with strong women, but women, I should say. But it feels like it's forced, and when you force a character to kind of behave in a certain way, it doesn't feel authentic, and the fan base feels that. And I always think that actions speak louder than words. Characters who are too verbose and are too one-sided, they're not relatable. And I kind of feel the same way with this woman. Like, she doesn't seem very likable to me.
Not at this stage, no.
Yeah, you have to have a balance, and I haven't seen a likable side to her yet. She seems a bit too, like, badass for the sake of being a badass and trying to make a strong
exactly, but she's
female
not. But
character.
at this stage, like, we don't know, like, what's made her like this sort of thing. Like, all we just know from her is that she's just a convict who's probably being released out on bail or parole.
Yeah, a bit more context would be good, and we don't know the full picture yet. That's very fair, but
But yeah, from what we know about her already, like, it just seems forced. It doesn't seem like she's going to have a funny bone in her. It's all just at this stage anyway. It just seems no nonsense sort of bullshit. My way is the way we go.
yeah. In other words, a bit of a bore to be around, a bit of a drag.
Yeah.
I feel the same way, and I think our thoughts will be reflected by a lot of people out there who have concerns about this game that have probably been raised about the about the trailer, and you take the shine and the luster of the graphics aside, what was there? What was there of substance in the trailer?
Really, just the fact that it's Vice City. That's really all I've got.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a nostalgia trip for long-time fans, and there'll be a lot of new people who are coming on board, and this will be their first Vice City experience, but nostalgia can only go so far.
Exactly.
So, Murdoch, I just wanted to ask you, what are your final thoughts on GTA 6?
Final thoughts so far, I can basically sum it up with this. I'm not overly convinced.
Can you list the reasons why you're not convinced? I'm interested to know.
Well, for one, like I said, at this stage, I'm not really liking the protagonists, potential protagonists, as I don't know much about that. Although, yeah, I don't know much about them at this stage, but at this stage, I don't seem like they're likable characters. Secondly, I'm just kind of riding on that whole Vice City nostalgia thing, but as you mentioned, nostalgia can only go so far.
Yeah.
Thirdly, everything about it just seems like working forced sort of thing. Like nothing is innovative. Fourthly, well, basically as well, it just kind of, I have a bit of a feeling that it's just going to be basically like linear, like a Half-Life game sort of thing. Like basically you're just going to have to follow a single pathway sort of thing, and not have any free will to do what you want.
Yeah, like on rails.
Don't get me wrong, Half-Life was a great game.
Oh, one of the greats.
Yeah, and overall, I'm just not convinced about it, and I'm not overly excited.
I would echo that sentiment. I think I kind of got caught up in the graphical wizardry of the trailer, and I was kind of thinking about my time with Red Dead Redemption 2, which I had a great time with, but what did they actually show me of substance? Like, it was just all, you can be as wide as an ocean, but as deep as a puddle. And that's just what the trailer felt like to me. It didn't show me anything of substance. And going back over everything we've discussed, Rockstar's recent track record with how they operate in terms of screwing over the consumer, the customer, lack of DLC, lack of care and attention and love to the franchise, prioritization of monetization, online-only content, incorporating more like woke elements into their games, taking autonomy away from players. All these things have kind of colluded together and have culminated in what I believe will be an unsatisfactory gaming experience for Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah, I agree with that. In my opinion, I think this game will be a bit of a train wreck. It'll be a Tenerife.
I couldn't have said it better myself. GTA 6 will be a train wreck.
Well, actually, Tenerife is worse, so I think it'll be Tenerife.
More of a plane wreck?
Yep.
I reckon sales will be good initially, but it will not have the longevity of GTA 5. People will go back to that for the online, and because they prioritize online, we're not going to get any DLC for GTA 6. That's a given the recent track record. The game will not sell as well as GTA 5 because that is...
it's just a title that everyone recognises.
It's like one of the best-selling games of all time. It cannot exceed that, so on those metrics alone, it's going to be disappointing.
Exactly. No, initially, I predict that a lot of people will buy GTA 6, but when they realise how potentially shite it is, you won't hear anything of it again.
It's alright, Murdoch, you can swear on the channel if you wish. There's a rule against censorship here, but yeah, I agree with you. I think
it's kind of like actually with the I don't know if you've heard of this, but there was a cereal called the Nintendo cereal.
the Nintendo cereal.
Yeah, a literal Nintendo game system cereal. Anyway, like sales actually initially were high because it was something that everybody recognized and grew up with. But however, when they realized that it tasted shit, no one bought it again. According to one guy, he said it tasted like rehydrated cat food.
Ladies and gentlemen, GTA 6 will be akin to rehydrated cat food. You heard it here first.
Yeah, that's basically my prediction. It'll be like the Nintendo Game System cereal. You buy it because it's brand recognition, then you realize that it's terrible, and you toss it out.
I agree. Brand familiarity and loyalty will get it to some good sales, very good sales. It's going to sell like absolute hotcakes early on, but longevity in the brand, loyalty. I honestly think this could be the end of Rockstar as the Titan we know it. It is not going to be as popular as GTA 5, and it could very well be the undoing of Rockstar, I feel, because they've made some poor decisions, I think, in the game development. It's not going to be as popular as the previous games. It's not going to sell as well.
Rockstar is still dealing with the aftermath of the definitive edition fiasco.
Yeah, a plethora of controversies, and it's going to be a failure in their eyes and in the eyes of the consumer. It will not be. It might get, and it will get. The critics will love it. The critics will froth over it because they're all paid out and they're not authentic. They're bought out shills.
Exactly. Yeah.
The money, the people talk, and it's not going to be as good. They won't.
Exactly. Yeah. Never listen to critics because they're just bribed.
Yeah. You heard it here first on Bing's Gaming Corner. GTA 6 will be a train wreck. Tenerife. How many? That was the most tragic air disaster, right?
There was two jumbo jets that collided on the runway. You can put the pieces together.
Very messy. Very messy, and that's what we feel Grand Theft Auto 6 will be. A Tenerife. A disaster of epic proportions. Well, I'd like to thank you for coming onto the channel tonight, Murdoch. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on board tonight to discuss Grand Theft Auto, Rockstar, and specifically Grand Theft Auto 6, so thank you very much for your time tonight.
You're welcome, Bing, and feel free to comment on my channel if you have any TV shows that you want me to try and remember for you.
Will do, Murdoch, and I'd love to have you back on the channel in future to discuss more Grand Theft Auto content, or anything, any kind of gaming or media. Yeah, really enjoyed having you here. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure, Bing.
Alright guys, well we're going to end the video here. I hope you enjoyed having us both on board here tonight to discuss Grand Theft Auto 6 and why we think it will be a train wreck. We both hope you have a great night or a great day wherever you are in the world. And until next time, keep it greasy, take it easy. This is Bing and Murdoch signing off. Have a good one.